I'm sure you guys are used to coming to meetings if you haven't come to one of these meetings that are very boring. You want to fall asleep 5 minutes in. This is the good shit, not the bullshit. Okay? People who teach mindset do that because they can't teach tactics. So we're going to talk about tactics today, and we're going to talk about ways of thinking. I have the good fortune, I coach 100 agents throughout the country, 12 of which make over $1 million a year. And I can see, I get a very clear, up-to-date access to what's going on in the market from producers all around the country. And I'm noticing as the marketplace has shifted and changed, it's created a lot of internal tension for people. It's created a lot of anxiousness. I have a lot of mental health calls with people. There's tears at least twice a week, no bullshit, like 100%. So I think part of the reason why is focus. And if you look here, there's nothing worse than somebody who's enthusiastically running in the wrong direction. That's me right there. That's Gabriella's work right there. That's pretty dope, right? So there's nothing worse than someone who's enthusiastically running in the wrong direction. And as agents, we have all of these different directions that we can run in. We wear all of these hats. So who wants to give me examples of some of the hats that we wear as agents? Marriage counselor, what else? 100%. I've sat down with sellers, husband's like this, wife's like, huh? You know what I mean? They're going through it. What else?
Life coach.
Life coach, what else?
Divorce counselor.
Divorce counselor, what else?
Financial planner.
Ah, finances. 65% of people live paycheck to paycheck, okay? So we think we're awesome financial decision makers as a whole, as a country. That is not true. What else?
Home inspector.
Home inspector. You shouldn't be doing that. We'll talk about that today. What else? Strategic planner, marketer, bookkeeper, media person, transaction coordinator, CRM manager. You have all of these different hats that you can wear. So then focus becomes critically important. And the reason why it's so critically important is this number right here. 27,550 days. Does anybody know what that number represents?
Number of agents locally.
That is where we're going, my dear, and I love that thinking. That is not what that represents. That represents the average amount of time that each one of you will get on planet Earth. 75 years in the industrialized world. Women have a tendency to get a little bit more than men. That's what's average. I'm 42, so I've used more than half. Whatever's left, if I sleep 8 hours in a day, I'm going to sleep through a third of it. All of that is to demonstrate that it's not that much time. Okay? And the thing we have to remember is that the sooner that you can accomplish something, the longer you can enjoy it with the people that you love. Never forget that you are in the process of expiring. The faster that I can accomplish something, the longer I can enjoy it with my family. The faster I can reach financial freedom and independence, the longer I can enjoy it with the people that I love and enjoy. Anybody besides me want to create that type of situation where you have time freedom and location freedom? I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong room. Anybody besides me say aye. Good, good. So I recognize that we live on an economic planet, okay? My son, he got bit by an ant, and we didn't know he had an ant thing. He looked like Will Smith in that movie. He swelled all up really quick. Took him to urgent care. They would not let him pass the threshold until I swiped my card for 150 bucks. That's just the way it is. I can't buy groceries with a smile, unfortunately, okay? So being that that's the case, I have to be very thoughtful. If I'm going to exchange time for money, I need to make sure that it's an effective and efficient use of time. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yes.
Okay? The challenge is in our industry, it is rampant and completely abundant with people that are not efficient and effective with their time. I don't know if you guys know this, but the average agent makes $72,000 a year in the United States. The average manager at Taco Bell makes 70. Those are called the facts. Which means that most people don't know where to focus their time. Would you agree? 100%. And I was following this advice at the beginning of my career. I was 26 years old. I just graduated from UF. Go Gators. I was listening to this advice my first 9 months in the business. And guess how much money I made? $13,000.
Wow.
Because it's a virus of thinking. Do you understand? And because of that virus of thinking, it leads to mediocre levels of production nationwide. So I didn't know what to do because $13,000 isn't going to cut it, team, is it? Nope. Not going to cut it. So I figured, okay, I need to get proximity because proximity is power. What's very true for me is that I've had probably 5 relationships in my life that have completely changed the trajectory of my life. Growing up, my family of origin, working kind of poor, very nice people, living paycheck to paycheck. If something you know, the car broke down, my dad would have to get a second job delivering pizzas in order to pay for the transmission. Anybody know what that's like? Yeah. And you know all the stuff that goes along with it, don't you? Fighting about money all the time. Domestic stuff, right? Substances. All the stuff that goes with that, right? So I was like, look, this is not the way for me. I don't know what the way is, but I need to find the way or make the way. And I got proximity to the best coaches, the best trainers, the best mentors. I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars of my own money. And now I'm no longer at a loss on where to focus my time at all. And that allows me to work 4.5 days a week and make 100 times more than I did that first 9 months in the business. Okay? Because of focus, what you choose to stack your time on. You have to make sure it's the most effective and efficient use of time. And I believe that everybody in this room with the right mental maps, the right way of thinking, and this is going to be interesting because I promise you I'm going to say some stuff today that you're not going to like. I'm going to say some stuff that you're going to push up against. Okay, I remember I was doing a talk, this was years ago, it was like 200 agents in the room. Everything I said, she was like sitting in the back row, everything I said, she was like, she got all mad and uptight. So I'm like, you know what, time out. Could you stand up, please? And she was like, yeah, and she stood up. I was like, great, what's your name? She's like, Susie. I'm like, great, let me ask you a question. And my intention in asking questions, I'm not trying to be a jerk. My intention in asking questions is really to help you to self-discover some things. Because one of the best questions you can ask a teacher, mentor, or coach is, what do I currently believe to be true that isn't? Because what you believe to be true that isn't is what's keeping you stuck. So I said, let me ask you a question. How many deals do you do a year? And it was like 30. I'm like, great, that's great business. In any office, you're a top producer, they put you on panels, correct? I said, great. And I can tell by the way that you're not enjoying some of the things that I'm saying, it's pushing up against some of your belief systems. So I imagine that all your business is past client centers of influence. And she was like, yeah. I also imagine that you mother your deals. She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, you hang over them and you don't let anybody else touch your little precious. She was like, yeah. I'm like, great. Well, I need you to understand something. I don't care how many seminars you go to. I don't care how many classes you sit in like this. Until you're okay with some people not liking you, you'll never do more deals than that. I'll do 200 and at the end, 20 won't be happy, and it's not the intention. But when your audience expands, what happens? People get pissed off. If Jesus showed up right now, somebody wouldn't like his hair, somebody wouldn't like his sandals, somebody definitely wouldn't like the color of his skin, right? That's just what's true. So I do believe that with a change in thinking, and be conscious as we go through these, as I start to share with you some of the things that I believe, right? And it's not that it came from theory, I've used it and it's produced very favorable outcomes because the proof is in the progress. A lot of people talk a lot of shit, but here's what's true. 2,000 homes sold, that's a lot. 100 coaching clients, that's a lot. Bringing in 196 agents in 16 and a half months. Jack Harlow has a verse in a song that says there's a reason why things are going the way that they are. There's something behind it, okay? So what we're going to do for the next 30 to 45 minutes is I'm going to go over with you, again, mental maps, ways of thinking, what I learned from coaches, trainers, mentors that allowed us to be able to produce these outcomes, because I want every single person in the room to make more money in less time. Who's up for that? Say aye. Aye. Good. Let's go. Okay, so let's define some words real quick, because I said effective and efficient and leveraged. And you know, it's interesting because of like technology and TikTok, people end up with like surface level understanding of things, but then think that they know something, right? So efficient, that word actually means working in a well-organized and competent way. Guys, we deal with agents all the time, not well-organized and not competent. Like a fucking shitty mess. Like your schedule's all crazy. We have to text people 15 times and send them 10 emails and like, I didn't get it. You're like, really, bro? So disorganized, don't use a Google Calendar, okay? Just completely not efficient. Let's look at effective. Being successful in producing a desired or intended result. What's the desired or intended result in real estate? Money. Fucking money, thank you. Right? People are like, oh, I love people. I'm like, that's gross. You haven't dealt with enough people. I love houses. That's ridiculous. You know how many houses I've been in where I need to like burn my suit because they had a cat farm? Most. And you gotta be like, oh yeah, the fucking purple carpet, that's dope, yeah. Right? So, but if the effectiveness, if we're defining that as producing a desired and intended result, and the average agent makes $70,000 a year, $72,000 a year, and the average manager at Taco Bell makes 70, how well are agents doing here? Very poorly. Right? And leveraged, using something to maximize advantage. Interesting. Using something to maximize your advantage. So if I want to be effective and efficient, first I have to define what these things are. I have to get well organized. I have to become competent. If I want to be effective, I need to produce the desired outcome and leverage. So what are some things that we could be using as leverage?
Transaction coordinator.
Okay, interesting, transaction coordinators. But people don't want to do that because this is my precious. Nobody can talk to my clients.
Or don't want to pay.
Oh, I don't want to pay. It's fucking $300, Edwin. I need you to understand that thinking will keep you here for the rest of your life. Period, end of story. I don't care how many seminars you go to. I don't care how many podcasts you watch. That thinking will keep you here. Okay? What else can we use that's leveraged?
AI.
AI, interesting. I've been on calls now with ChatGPT. It's nuts what it can do. So you can use that for leverage. What else? You guys are missing what's the most leveraged thing you could do in this business?
Delegate it, whatever it's not.
Nope. Nope.
System.
Social media.
Nope. List property in high volume. It is the most leveraged thing you could do, period, end of story. You know I had people delivering me cakes and pies to try to get them to accept offers? I'm curious, you've been on the other end with a listing agent has 5 offers. Who has all the leverage there? Oh God, you guys are like, oh hey Aaron, how you doing? Like I'll call them, they'll be like, hello? I'll be like, yeah, this is Aaron. Oh hey, how are you? How are you doing? It's the most leveraged thing you could do in the business, period. End of story. Because I'm curious, these systems, the MLS system, Zillow, Redfin, what do they all need like oxygen to breathe? Fucking data. That's what they need. Without it, they die. So if you can become a prodigious provider of data, you will continue to be disproportionately rewarded for your efforts. I'm curious, does the system need buyer's agents? Sorry. Ooh, feel that. Feel it. Let it sink in for a second. With that commission thing that's happening, you guys are going to have to start negotiating for commissions with buyer's agents. I mean, as a buyer's agent. That's what's going to happen in the future. And truthfully, the system doesn't need you. The system needs listing agents because without them, there's no data and all the thing shuts down. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So this is a key mental map that I want you guys to think about. Okay? Once I understood this, it has shaped everything I've done moving since. Because prior to, I was under the impression, because we're taught this as a virus of thinking, that your job is paperwork. That is horseshit. You are a salesperson. Somebody else needs to be doing paperwork. Not only that, you're not an attorney. They're fill in the blanks. That's how much they trust you. Do you know why? You know what the barrier to entry is to become a real estate agent? You need to get a C on a test. Have $1,000 and not be a felon yet. Ta-da! That's the barrier. So your job isn't paperwork. They're telling you your job is to sit in networking events. I'm curious, are any of those people going to buy houses from you? No, you need to be in the presence of prospects, people that are actually going to do business with you. Do you see? You have to change the way that you think about things. But let's think about this value chain. Because they were teaching me, again, that virus of thinking, that mediocre thinking was teaching me, hey, all of these things are your job. But every business has a value chain, every single business. That goes from highest value activities to least valued activities. So let's walk through an example that we all sit through or have, right, experienced before, which is the doctor's office. So you make an appointment with the doctor. I'm curious, do you talk to the doctor to set that appointment?
Nope.
Who do you speak to? Receptionist. That's awesome. Then you show up. Who greets you at the door? The doctor? Receptionist. What's the first question they ask you?
Do you have insurance?
Hey, listen.
Do you have payment?
How the fuck are you going to pay for this? Is this cash or do you have insurance? Then what do? They hand you a clipboard and you sit down. What are they doing when they hand you the clipboard?
Getting all your information.
That's called pre-qualifying. Where does it hurt? How long does it hurt? Do you have a history of hurting? Have you traveled out of the country? Are you taking any medication? Da, 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 da. Right? It's pre-qualification, which is what we should be doing with clients before we go see them. Not like, hey, Amy, I want to sell my house. Great, I'll be there in 10. No, that's dumb. That is not effective, nor is it efficient. You will end up mediocre. Okay? After you hand back the clipboard, they say, okay, now you need to wait. And the doctor will be with you in a moment, which is a lie because that's not who greets you. You wait 30 minutes and who then talks to you? The nurse practitioner or the physician's assistant. And what do? They look at the little chart. Now it's on an iPad. Interesting. Should you guys be using pieces of paper? Fucking no. But you still do. Because it's not effective, nor is it efficient. They have an iPad now, so now they have the iPad. They're like, hey, Aaron, you hop on the thing. They weigh you. You pee in a cup. They bang on your knee. They say, hey, I see da-da-da-da-da. Great, great. The doctor will be with you in a minute. That's also a lie. Because how long does it take?
Half an hour.
Half an hour. Half an hour later, check this out. He or she blows in, looks at the iPad, says, hey, nice to see you. Looks like you're in for this. They look in your ears. That's a bill. You go, that's a bill. They touch your throat, that's a bill. They touch your abdomen, that's a bill. They look in your eyes, that's a bill. They write you a script, that's a bill. And they say, I will be back with you. I want you to come back in 2 weeks just to check in and see how you're doing. Tap you on the head, and they leave. They do that 20 times a day. I know because Carla's parents are both retired physicians. 20 times a day they do that at 10-minute increments. I need you to understand something. Those 10 minutes pay for the space, pay for the electricity, pay for all of the bookkeeping, all those files that you see behind you, the staff, and there's a profit. Which means it's the highest up the value chain. Does that make sense to you? Yes. Okay. So how is this applicable to real estate? Okay, but ask yourself a question and be honest. Are you operating with a value chain? No. You're the receptionist. Hey, how you doing? Nice to see you. Oh, great, yeah. At the beginning of my real estate career, I was selling real estate in Gainesville, Florida, which, if you've ever been there, outside of the university is a very sleepy, hollow town. Once you get outside the university, it's just cows and churches. Not as though there's anything wrong with cows and churches, but that's all there is. The broker that I decided to partner with at the time, they had a boot camp that you had to go through before they would let you in to the company. And it consisted of 2 weeks of sales training. You know, things like contacts equals contracts and making calls and things of that nature. And it culminated in a listing presentation that you actually had to give in front of all of the rest of the company. And they partnered you with another new agent. For those of you who may not know me, I am somebody who's very motivated by significance, and I'm also incredibly, disgustingly competitive, right? So I wanted to win. I wanted to be the absolute best of the whole presentation in front of the whole company, right? So I took it super seriously. And they told us to print out this information about like their listing presentation, their marketing thing and everything. It was like these pieces of paper. And they told us to go to Office Depot and to print it out and to get a flip chart so we could present it. And they gave us a script, right? So I dutifully went to Office Depot, printed it all out, got my flip chart, ready to rock, got my script, and I went home to my wife, Carla, and said, hey, we need to start role playing. Not that type of role play, but we need to start role playing, okay? And she's like, okay, cool. So we start practicing. And I'm diligently practicing, like, you know, all day, all night. And it comes the big day. It's time to present. So my partner is a all shucksy kind of guy, you know, like a grandpa-ish kind of guy. And he goes first, and it's embarrassing. He clearly did not prepare, okay? He was dressed in jeans and a t-shirt, okay? And he stumbled through the presentation. It was very clear that he didn't practice at all. Now I show up, I'm the only person wearing a suit. Now it's from the Dead Man collection, and let me explain what I mean by that. The first suit that I ever bought, I bought it in an estate sale because I had no money. And a guy died who happened to be my shape and size. So I'm going through the, I swear to God, it's a true story. Going through the closet at the estate sale, I look at my wife, I'm like, suit's pretty nice. Bought the suit for 20 bucks. Add a little pocket square there, let's go. So forever and ever, it'll always be from the Dead Man collection. First suit ever got, right? So I show up, dressed fresh like $1,000,000, got my little pocket square in there, and now it's my turn to present. And because I had spent a lot of time doing what? Preparing, I was able to get through it. Now, it wasn't perfect, okay? Because I'd only spent, 48 hours practicing. But I took it really seriously. And in my mind, I was so worried and concerned, like, oh my God, what if he asked me how much my commission is? Anyone besides me have ever been worried or concerned about that? Yeah, more hands should be going up. What if they say, I've never heard of your company before? Anybody ever been worried about that? Yeah. Anybody on the way there, you're like, holy shit, I hope they don't ask me that. I hope they don't ask me that, right? It's happened to you before, right? So I'm all concerned, but like this guy didn't even prepare for the damn presentation. So he just doesn't ask me anything. So I'm like, whew, right? But I never forgot that. Because the money is not in the service. The money's in the selling of the service. And if you want to get paid like a professional, you need to practice like one. There is only, out of 20,000 agents in the multiple listing service, that is rapidly going down right now, by the way, guys. People are getting jobs driving Uber, working at restaurants, because when times get tough, only the skilled get paid. So there's out of 20,000 agents in the multiple listing service, there's only 100 that do 20 million in volume, myself included. That's it. You have 20,000 people competing for 100 jobs. How would you practice if you were competing for one of those jobs?
Try to be the best.
Trying is a degree of effort that's accompanied by an excuse. If you really wanted to compete for one of those jobs, not just fuck around. Not just treat this like a vending machine that when you make a few bucks, you go to Costa Rica and post it on Instagram. So since that boot camp, I have spent 10,000 hours in role-playing practice. I've gone on thousands of listing appointments. And I've spent probably $400,000 and counting in my own personal growth and development, getting access to the best teachers, the best trainers, the best mentors. And now I no longer am at all concerned as to what somebody might say to me on a listing presentation. I no longer sweat on my way there. Oh my God, I hope they don't ask me that. And now I actually get paid to present and teach people how to present. And I really do believe, I truly do, that everybody in this room with the right blueprint, the right mindset, and the right skills, guys, you can list as many properties as I have, if not more. Right? I've spent the last 17 years of my career selling 2,000 properties. I know, you can raise your eyebrows, that's a lot. So, what we're gonna do today is I'm gonna go over with you the listing presentation. The exact presentation that I've used to list hundreds of properties a year. It's broken down into 3 separate sections. And then we're gonna go over some frequently asked questions, common objections. So that way you're fully prepared. Guys, because when we go from 6 million transactions in a calendar year to a projected 3.8 million, that means there are more people competing for the same opportunities. And if you don't have a competitive advantage, don't compete, right? I'll tell you a real quick story. So I remember going on a listing appointment at the beginning of my career. It was somewhere in like Coral Springs. It was an expired listing, and I knew that they had 3 appointments scheduled that day, right? One at like 12, one at like 2, and then me at 3:15, 3:30. So I show up at 2:30 and I knock on the door. What do you think happened to that agent that was sitting there? Start shitting their pants. Owner comes out, pokes their head out. They say, oh, well, I'm sorry. We have an agent here. Would you mind waiting outside? I said, that's no big deal. I'll just wait in the living room. Are you that confident in your presentation? Then the guy leaves. I sit down. Husband looks at me. He's like, that was stone cold. And then he signed the listing agreement. So when times get tough, only the skilled get paid. We really need to dial this in. If there are less opportunities, I need to make sure there's no security in this business. There's only opportunities. So if I get my skills to such a degree that if I present, there's an 85% chance I'll earn the business, I've just created security for myself and my family. Who's up for this? Say aye. Aye. I'm sorry, we're in the wrong room. Who's up for this? Say aye. Aye. Good. According to the Association of Realtors, the average agent who goes on 100 listing presentations will only take 20 listings. Why do you think that is?
Not prepared.
Not prepared. They're like that grandpa guy, just going in there, yeah, winging it. Showing up with flip-flops and khakis. No presentation. They're like, oh my God, you have a puppy? I have a puppy. We should be best friends. If 20 listings, 15 sales, 150 grand a year. I don't know why you guys think this is a lot of money. Let's do the math on this. 150, you have taxes, don't you? Mm-hmm. About 50 grand. Now you got 100. You got business expenses, don't you? Yeah. How much are those? 20, 30 grand? Yeah. Now you're at 70. You got a rent or your mortgage payment, car payment. You want to take one nice trip a year. How much money's left over? Zero! And no government can help you with that. You have to earn your way out of it. So if I go on 100 listing appointments, I take 85. That's, oh my God, look at the difference. 80 listings, 70 sales, $700,000. Same appointments, same time. What's the difference? Skills, bro. Skills pay the bills. Skills pay the bills. Again, that key phrase, you want to get paid like a professional, you need to practice like one. Amateurs practice until they can get it right. Professionals practice until they can't get it wrong. I should be able to wake you up in the middle of the night and be like, bro, give me your listing presentation. And you're like, hi, my name is Aaron, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. And you just run right into it. Or I should be able to bump into you in the hallway and be like, hey, your commission's too high. No hesitation. Not like, ha, 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 oh, I'm not ready. Let me get back to YouTube and shit. Boom, you go right into it. Because guys, these conversations are worth 10, 15, 20,000 bucks. It's immature to not be prepared. There's 3 separate sections of the listing presentation. From the time you hit the door till the time you start to talk about price. Then there's the pricing portion of the listing presentation. Then there's handling objections and closing. Okay? It's a map. You just follow it. Now, I'm curious. Let's say you got on a plane and the pilot said, you know what? We're not going to go with the checklist today. We're just going to wing it. Would you get on that plane? Nope. No. Imagine you went to a surgeon. Surgeon has a checklist. They're like, you know what? We're just going to bypass the checklist today. I got this shit. I'm just going to wing it. Would you be okay with that? Why are you guys okay with going on listing presentations and winging it? It's the same thing, right? And people are going to say yes. It typically takes 7 no's before somebody says yes. And somebody's going to be in control. I want it to be me. So what do I mean by that? How do we incorporate this into the first section? So if you're taking notes, put like from the time I hit the door till the time I start to talk about price. Okay? From the time I hit the door, time I start talking about price. So the moment that you hit the door, all of this is crafted and scripted. So the first thing that I would remind you guys to do, because you're all serious and shit, is to smile when you knock on the door. I had to remind myself to do that. Because I used to be like, here to do business. Right? So you knock on the door, they open the door, you're like, hi, Aaron Novello, nice to meet you. Did you want me to take my shoes off? Why would I say that to them? Because I'm walking into their space. Just being respectful. And if they say yes, great, do it. I'm like, I didn't fucking want to do that, but fine. You know what I mean? But if they say, and don't have a hole in your sock, right? But if they say, no, that's cool, you're like, okay, great. What I'd like to do is take a quick look around the home. Would that be okay? Yes. Why am I doing that immediately? Nope. Taking control. Somebody's going to be in control. I want to be in control. Because if I let them be in control, there's going to be a little fucking dog running around. We're going to be sitting on the couch drinking tea like nothing's going to happen. Right? How many people say to me, sat in one of those couches, you're like fucking, yeah, it's a lovely home, yeah. Somebody's got to be in control. And they're like, no, that's cool, you can take a look around. Now what I want to start to do is I want to start to immediately start to close. You guys wait till the end to close. I don't know why. And remember, it takes 7 no's to get to 1 yes. So I want to get all those 7 in right away. So the first thing I'm going to say to them is like, well, you know, your home is really lovely, Chris. It's tastefully furnished. So I'm curious, when we have offers come in, are we going to be including the contents, or do you want to take that with you to your next destination?
Taking it with me.
Good. What just happened there? When who has offers come in? We have offers come in. It's called an assumptive close. Being assumptive is, yeah, I know. She was like, oh. An assumptive close, right? Being assumptive is a function of confidence, and confidence is a function of role play and practice. Okay? He's gonna be like, no, we want to take that with us. Okay, fantastic. And then he continues to show me through, and I'm like, yeah, you know, if I remember correctly, Chris, you were kind enough to share with me that you aren't planning on making any changes or modifications before I start to bring buyers through. You just want me to help you to sell it as it is, where it is. Is that right?
That's right.
What just happened? Close number 2. Right? You just want me to help you to sell it as it is, where it is, right? And it's subtle like this. Notice, as I'm doing this, you all guys start to do it. No, your head, even without you noticing. As I start to bob my head, you guys are like, yeah. Right? So 2 closes. Have we talked about commission? Have we talked about my fucking snazzy marketing plan? Which, by the way, is the same as everybody else's, but don't tell anybody. We use the same photographers. Right? So then we've done those couple assumptive closes, and now it's time to sit down. Again, you need to be in control. Okay, so what I like to do is like, we can go ahead and take a seat here at the kitchen table. That be all right? Because if you don't do that, you're going to end up sitting on a little shitty couch somewhere, and it'll be awkward and weird. Okay? Now, in terms of where I want to sit where I'm the center. I want the people to be sitting here, right? So if husband and wife, here, so I can direct to both of them. If I'm sitting across from you, what does that create? An adversarial position. And there's a border and a boundary between me and you. Okay. Make sense?
Never thought about that.
Of course. That's what I'm here for, bro.
Psychology.
Yeah. So I want to sit here at the end, and I have the people here. So I'm the direct center of attention. Right? Okay. Now, I will say, first and foremost, I just want to begin our time together, Fatima, just by saying thank you. Smiling again. for providing me the opportunity to share some information with you and potentially help you with the sale. I always like to begin these conversations just by asking a few quick questions to make sure we're on the same page. Would that be okay?
Yes.
Perfect. So the first question I have, which I'm pretty positive I know the answer to, based on what you shared with me on the phone before we connected, you guys have definitely decided that you're going to sell the home. You're not interested in like holding on to it or doing something else with it. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Notice I said, would that be okay if I asked you questions? And she said, yes. I asked her another question. She said, yes. That's establishing a pattern of what? Yes. So, okay, great. And then that leads me to my second question, which I'm also pretty sure I know the answer to, is you guys want to position the property price-wise to sell. You definitely don't want to give it away. That's for sure. At the same time, you don't want to have it sit on the market for like 6 or 7 months just testing the market. Is that correct?
Yes.
She said yes 3 times in a row. I know. Shit's Jedi, right? And then that leads me to my third question. I'm aware I sent you over some information in preparation for connecting. I'm sure you did some due diligence. You checked me out online. You saw track record and reviews. So have you and your family, have you guys already decided that you would like for me and my team to help you with the sale?
Yes.
Yeah. So there's a hierarchy of learning. At the bottom of the hierarchy of learning is reading and writing, which is the lowest form of learning, right? Which is interesting because that's how we get our formal education. As you go up the hierarchy of learning, the second highest form of learning is simulation, which is where you pretend to do the real thing. So doctors simulate on cadavers, pilots simulate in a device actually called a simulator before we let them on a real plane with people. And then the highest form of learning is doing the real thing, right? So if you want to ramp up the learning curve and you do all of them every day, so you read, write, simulate, do the real thing. Read, write, role play, do the real thing. Read, write, role play, do the real thing. Read, write, role play, do the real thing, right? Because repetition is the mother of learning and the father of action, which makes it the architect of accomplishment. So that's how you can get it to be ingrained where you don't have to think about it anymore. You know what I'm saying? That's why when you hear me and Jose on like, Clubhouse or whatever, I don't have to think about what to say anymore because I've spent a nauseating amount of time practicing it. Now I can focus on you, I can focus on facial expressions, I can focus on your tonality, I can focus on, right, other things. I already know what you're going to say before you even say it, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So I would do all of those, and what I did is, that's what I did. So I read, wrote, role played twice a day. Like I practiced role play twice a day, 6 days a week. I did that for 3 years, and I would chant scripts, and I would hand write out the listing presentation. But I did that every day, and I would prospect.
So your time spent on skill development or scripts is like what? Like you're spending like close to 2 to 3 hours?
It was like 2 hours probably every day, but it was a nauseating amount of time. But that's why, bro. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So let's say you only practice 30 minutes versus 2 hours, bro.
Yeah, and then
In a month, a year.
Yeah, and then those people doing 30 minutes, they think they're the shit, and I'm like, okay.
And how did you develop? Like obviously, I'm assuming you're writing out like the old scripts, right?
Yep.
And then how did you develop your
Kind of flavor.
your flavor? Because I know you say a lot. There's a couple of phrases that you use a lot.
Yeah, that's from doing the real thing. So I would just do the real thing, and I would, I don't know, say something.
And then be like, oh, that worked.
That worked. That was
Let me try that again.
Let me try that again. And then I also remember because I was role playing with like
Badass agents.
badasses. You know what I mean? Like people. When I started role playing with Neil, I was doing 50 deals. He was doing 200.
Yeah.
So I would role play with.
Neil did.
Yeah, he had his own flavor. So I would role play with people that were just playing at really high levels, and I'd learn stuff from them. So it's like a combination of, me coming up with stuff and just kind of taking stuff from other people that I would hear and be like, oh, that was really good. Oh, that works in that particular dynamic.
Do you believe each presentation should be like have its own flavor, or should it be like a legitimately canned sort of thing? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I think it should be structured for sure. Yeah, like winging it is for chumps, bro.
yeah.
Yeah, that's like kind of asking a professional football team, like, do you think you guys should run plays?
Right. I guess I don't mean like legitimately can, but like, should it be like this portion we're gonna do this, and sometimes I say different things here.
No, we do the same thing every time.
Like been around guys that kind of like they like this portion.
I get it. And how many homes do they list? It's when the conversation stops. You know, I hear people like, oh, well, you know, your shit's wordy. I'm like, yeah, how many homes you list a year?
Yeah.
Fucking 20? Like, good, okay.
Yeah. No, makes sense, man. Makes sense.
In South Florida, in our MLS system, I was the top listing agent in the whole MLS system. So it's like out of 20,000 agents. You know, when people are like, oh yeah, I want to do it this way. I'm like, okay, well, do whatever the fuck you want, man. But here's what I know is true is that if you want to do it in high volume, it's got to be systematized. Right. So I think that there's a novel component as far as like the people, as far as perhaps the experience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? While I'm with them, because I'll be present with them and, you know, kind of address whatever's coming up for them. But the process that we're following is the same every single time.
Like, so for example, what he's trying to say is that they're like, my husband just died. He's not going to say
Fantastic.
Right.
I wrote down 3 real important questions. For
Right.
him.
Yeah.
Right. But that's how a lot of people do it.
I literally never asked. I got 3 really important questions. Never say that shit. Because I feel so uncomfortable, because if somebody asks me that type of shit, like...
Yeah, but then you can say it in a different way. It's like, so before we get started, I just have a couple of questions to ask you just to make sure that I'm fully prepared and I can provide you, you know, with the most accurate information and be of the best assistance to you. Would that be okay?
Yeah.
It's just a different approach.
But we were taught a different way. Right?
I know.
So that's why I'm saying those things, and what I'm saying is not in alignment with what the person is reflect, like what they want. You know?
Yeah, or what's true for them in that moment.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right, but I can still follow a process.
Yeah.
I think just the process that you were following previously was very abrasive, because the person that's teaching it to you is very abrasive and very kind of gruff and blunt and direct. And, you know,
If you like it, great.
if you like it, great. If you don't, fuck you. Like that's, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Exactly.
But what happens is like, you know, instead of learning new things, what people do is they get prideful about the stuff that they already know. And that's dumb. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like doing it, like, you know, that's not really an environment for growth.
Right.
Where it's like, if you want to grow, it's like, I'm trying to figure out all different ways to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That was my problem. That was my problem with the presentation. I didn't.
Yeah, and then
I asked these
the
questions.
reserves
How,
Right.
Can you pick those up as well?
before, you know?
Right.
Do you, I know you're probably gonna go over this tomorrow.
Yeah. So
but
just whatever was on the note on that.
do you ask
checklist
like
that
the
you
whole
had?
like
Just that stuff.
here's what's gonna happen tonight sort of thing?
What?
Yeah, I would just say like,
Some sort of thing.
yeah, well, you know, the great news is at the culmination of our time together, there are a few potential outcomes. The first, which we seem to be moving in that direction, is that you may decide to list a home with me. And again, I'm very excited to have that opportunity. Myself and team and staff, everybody's standing at the ready to go to work for you ASAP. The second potential outcome, and this one's okay too, you know, there's an outside chance for whatever reason, maybe price, maybe commission, you may decide not to list a home with me, and that's perfectly fine as well. And the third, and this was just as important as the others, Mario, is if for any reason at all, if I honestly truly felt that I would not be able to help you get what you wanted at the time you wanted, I may decide to humbly decline the opportunity to list your home. The reason I would do that is I'd much rather earn your business with integrity, being honest and straightforward about what's reasonable and realistic, versus promising you something I know is not going to happen and not be able to deliver. And any one of those three I feel totally comfortable with.
Yeah,
Fair enough?
Fair enough.
It's the same thing.
So you see the backbone, but the approach is a little different.
Yeah, the approach was it.
Instead of like, I may decide not to take your listing, which is like, what?
Yeah, you're like, why would you even say that? Like, I really, like, honestly, like the way that whole presentation is, if someone said those sorts of things to me, too confident. Like, I'm like,
in, but just make sure.
I used to be on the phone like, you don't want to sell your house? Like, oh, like we have the best marketing, we're the #1 office. I used to say stuff like that, and no results.
You, man. Thank you
Right.
so much.
for so long, yeah. And
It's just the approach is a little different.
yeah, like even my broker Joe, like I love Joe, right? Jose is great, but don't record that.
You want me to cut?
No, don't just take Joe's name. Anyways, but they always use we're the #1 Century 21. That's why you should list with them. And what the hell does that have to do with what you're gonna do to sell the house, you know? And that sort of approach is kind of like how Mike Ferry does it, like, you know. And it was just hard for me to connect like that, so I would just say other things and wasn't getting the results I wanted. My presentation was all over the place, so
But were you practicing every day?
I was, but I wasn't saying that because I just felt uncomfortable saying like, I got Jose. So I'd like to take before we get started. I'd like to take a look around the house. No, let me show you around. All right, fucking, show me around. What someone else's house? I'm not gonna tell them like, let me walk around your house, And then from there, it just kept going down, or the prequel.
Would you ever allow them to take a tour? You take it, and then give you a tour of the property?
No, so when I would walk in, I'd be like, all right, do you want me to take my shoes off? And they're like, no. I'm like, okay, or yes, whatever they said. Okay, great. So what I'd like to do is just take a quick look around the property. Will that be okay? And they're like, yeah, that's fine. And then I'd just start and I would stop. But when I stopped, I would say like, okay, and I'm noticing that the home is really tastefully furnished. So
Would they walk around with you?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm fine with that. Instead of you being like, no, you need to sit here. I need to look at it through the eyes of the buyer. It's like,
So you're saying it's okay to walk around with?
of course it is, bro. And when they walk around with me, I'm like, they're going to talk to me about shit. But it gives me an opportunity to start to assumptively close. So when they're walking around with me, I'm like, hey, Mario, I'm noticing that your home is really tastefully furnished. So when we have offers come in, are we going to be including the contents, or do you want to take that with you to your next destination? When who has offers that come in?
We have offers.
That's right. And then as you're showing me around and you're showing me all your shit, I'm like, okay. And if I remember correctly, Mario, you don't plan on making any changes or modifications before I start to bring buyers through. You just want me to help you to sell it as it is, where it is. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
You see what just happened again?
I think EXP is a scam.
So we can all perform the same service. Like if I was in a room of 1,000 agents, I'd be like, hey, how many of you guys have a real estate license? Do we all make the same amount of money?
And how'd you get listings?
So by learning how to sell the service. So actively prospecting, because it's a low level opportunity in a sense. It's just a mechanism to raise cash. What I said to myself is like, look, I don't know what the way is, but I'm gonna either find the way or make the way.
You guys don't even know, because everyone's like kind of drinking coffee, and then they might go on one appointment, and then they come back and they chit chat, and then they're on the MLS and they go home at 5.
Yes.
I'm literally gonna smoke these people. If investing's a Honda, how is EXP a Ferrari?
To me, selling 100 homes a year as an agent is like winning the Super Bowl.
I don't believe in this whole freedom crap. There's nothing wrong with crushing it as a realtor. I know I'm just like talking a bunch of crap.
No,
but-
and it's-
all right, guys, today on the podcast, we are going to get into it because we got a realtor here.
Let's go.
and I don't even like realtors.
That's
So
good.
we're going to see how this goes. So how's it doing, Aaron?
Doing great, man.
You doing good?
Yeah.
Okay. So wanted to have you on the podcast because I am not convinced that being a realtor makes sense in 2023.
Sure.
I think EXP is a scam. I think that realtors live in a box, and they have so much earning potential, but they don't even realize it because they're so busy chasing 2% and 3% commissions that I'm here to break that today with you.
Okay, it's good. Let's do it.
Yeah. So I guess before we get into that,
Yeah.
who are you? Tell people who you are.
Yeah, so my name is Aaron Novello. I've had the good fortune of helping buyers and sellers for about 17 years.
Oh,
I've sold 2,000 properties in my career.
that's it.
Yeah,
Okay.
100 homes a year, 10 years in a row. I did 200 deals a year twice.
Okay.
And then I created a coaching company to teach people how to sell real estate in high volume.
Got it.
And currently what I'm doing is building an organization within EXP.
Oh, okay. 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 So,
From all of those things that you just said you don't like.
yeah.
Which is fantastic.
And I used to be a realtor.
Yeah.
So, but I guess, like you said, so much is hard to, how did you scale being a realtor?
Yeah, so I think that by definition, a lot of being a realtor is a technician job.
Okay.
So you are actively, prospecting, lead follow-up, go on appointments, negotiate deals, right?
Uh-huh.
And it's truthfully, and I can understand why you believe that that's not the highest, most valuable use of time because it's a low-level opportunity in a sense. I would propose that flipping, if it's not done at scale, is the same. Because what happens is it's just a mechanism to raise cash.
Yeah.
And then the question is, what do you do with the cash? Right? So a lot of flippers live off the flips
Yep.
and they don't have any residual income. And a lot of agents do the same thing, which is that if they learn how to sell real estate in high volume, they can raise a lot of cash. Like you can make $1 million on real estate, like just doing onesies, right?
Yeah.
At the same time, if they're not forward thinking and they're not recognizing, hey, this is a treadmill, there's no way off of this treadmill, and they're not taking a meaningful portion of what they're earning and investing into things that pay them money, then they're going to fall into the same trap,
Yeah.
right? So I recognize two different things. So my first calendar year selling real estate, I made $13,000. So it's not something people would be on a podcast for.
Yeah.
They would not put you on a panel. They wouldn't ask you to do a keynote, and they definitely wouldn't pay you to coach them how to do that. The reason was, though, is I had an inaccurate assessment of reality.
Okay.
And, Ray Dalio in his book Principles, he says you need an accurate assessment of reality in order to produce a good outcome.
Okay.
He also gives us a formula. He says a dream plus dealing with reality plus determination equals a successful life. So if you really study that, you're like, okay, well, what's the hardest part of that equation? It's not a dream. You have a dream, I have a dream, everybody has a dream.
Mm-hmm.
It's not determination either, because people have various levels of determination. It's reality.
Mm-hmm.
It's dealing with it. Because then I have to admit I'm not as smart as I am, as quick as I am, as fast as I am, as cool as I think I am.
Mm-hmm.
So my inaccurate assessment of reality is nobody taught me that it's a sales business, no different than selling bookstore to door, selling subscriptions over the phone.
Yeah.
So the mental map that helped me to get clear on that so I can do real estate in high volume was that the money's not in the service, it's in the selling of the service.
Mm-hmm.
So we can all perform the same service. Like if I was in a room of 1,000 agents, I'd be like, hey, how many of you guys have a real estate license? Cool. We can all do the same thing, correct? Do we all make the same amount of money? The answer is no.
Mm-hmm.
The question is why?
Mm-hmm.
Some people know how to sell the service better than others.
Okay.
So once I recognized that that's where I should be spending my time, then I got obsessed with that. So I would role play twice a day, 6 days a week. I would handwrite out scripts. I would record myself, right? Record myself role playing with people.
Yeah.
To really hone that skill. And that allowed me to go from 17 transactions to 50 to 75 to 89, then to 100. And then the second mental map that I became aware of is that you can only grow to the proportion that your systems will allow you to. So no matter how much motivation you get, like I don't care if you go to WealthCon and you get super motivated and pumped.
Shout out to WealthCon.
You can do it. Yeah, shout out to WealthCon. If you don't have systems, you will stay at whatever your current level is, right? So I recognized that and I started to build out systems.
Okay.
And SOPs, standard operating procedures, and staff that allowed me to create a conveyor belt where I could list 10 to 15 homes a month personally and do 180, 150, 180 transactions, all on the listing side because it's the most leveraged side of the business.
How'd you get, okay, so let's rewind. I want to get into the details. So you made $13,000 your first year, right? Yeah. What'd you do the next year?
The next year was like 115.
Okay. And you did that by listing?
Yes.
And how'd you get listings?
So by learning how to sell the service. So actively prospecting. So
okay,
so where I was upstairs in, like your guys' office and the flipping office.
Yeah.
There's people in there on the phone.
Yep.
And they're talking to people. So what I'm aware of is that was me. So I was doing that.
So you were cold calling.
I was cold calling.
Got it.
100%.
Okay. You were cold calling expireds and FSBOs?
Expireds, FSBOs. It ended up mutating into probates as well.
Okay.
We added that
Yeah.
because I recognized so I did expireds. When I was selling real estate, I started in 2006. Everybody's making money.
Yeah.
You could be a rum-dum, show up in flip-flops, make $100,000, right? Because money's flowing freely. It's super easy. Well, 2008 happens. And the whole economic system gets decimated. So if you were using traditional methods of doing business, like your past client centers of influence, you're not going to do any business. So expireds, though, exploded.
Oh, okay. There's a lot of expired. Yeah, because no one was selling.
Because no one was selling.
Yeah.
So there's like 250 to 300 a day. I couldn't even call them all. So I would set 3 appointments.
Sounds like a realtor's heaven right there.
Yeah, it is. It's like manna.
Yeah.
So I would set 3 a day, cancel 2 because they didn't have equity, and go on 1. Then what happened though in 2011 and 12 is the marketplace got better. 10, 11, 12. What happens to expireds?
They go down.
They shrink.
Yeah.
So I would like to, say hey, I noticed that and I made this very mature decision to rotate into probates. That's not what happened.
Yeah.
So for 90 days, I'm banging my head against the wall and I recognize, there's not enough leads here for me to keep growing. And what I said to myself is look, I don't know what the way is, but I'm gonna either find the way or make the way.
Yeah.
And just by happenstance, serendipity, a buddy of mine had ordered a course on probate. He gave me access to it. And I started to, look at it. The other thing that's true is I live in heaven's waiting room.
Where's
because
that?
in
Florida?
we have the largest elderly population in the country. So it's a source of business that is market independent.
Got it.
Regardless of market dynamics, people pass away.
Yeah.
So I got serious on it. I started to shrink the amount of time I called expireds, boost the amount of time of probates. And within 4 years, it became 50% of our business.
Got it.
Yeah.
I actually went through a transition very similar. So I used to be a realtor here in Vegas.
Awesome.
And big Mike Ferry agent.
Yeah.
and I was killing it, calling expires and FSBOs, and then I would door knock expireds, and then I moved to California. I lived in Chino, and the problem that I faced was there wasn't a lot of expireds, and to drive to expireds takes way longer in California.
It's not efficient.
Yeah, so here in Vegas, I could door knock like 20, 25 in a day. Cali is like 3 to 5.
Yep.
Because just traffic and just stuff like that. So I was like, all right, damn, like this sucks, because I was planning to just do what I was doing out here and do it in California. And then I was watching Kevin Ward.
Yeah.
You know Kevin Ward? Sure. He was talking about NODs and probates and all this stuff. And then I was like, all right, I don't know what NOD is, but I started calling NODs and then started getting those listings, started doing short sales, and then started realizing how much flippers were making. And I'm like, I just worked this short sale for 6 months and made 2.5%. And then I paid my broker 25%. And this flipper just made 60 grand.
Yeah.
I'm in the wrong business. But yeah, so very similar stories. So, all right, you got into probates, you started making 6 figures. Then what happened?
Yeah. So I did that continuously for a while.
How long?
And 10 years.
Okay. Damn.
Yeah. And I love that. He's like, how long?
Yeah, because I
10
know.
years, bro. So, and what I started to recognize though was that.
And by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with crushing it as a realtor. I know I'm just like talking a bunch of crap.
No,
but
and it's dope because what we're doing is triangulating ideas of believable people.
yeah,
And
100%.
what ends up percolating to the surface is the truth.
Yeah,
And I believe that there's a million ways to make money.
100%.
A million.
Yeah.
And there's only a handful of ways to lose it, and it's all psychological. So if you can figure out what your way is to make money, and then there's stages to wealth creation. One is earning money. Very few people are good at that. I think it's something like 95% of the population makes less than $120,000 a year. So it's infinitesimally small. Then you have to learn how to keep it. Less are good at that.
Yeah,
And then you have to learn how to multiply it.
yeah,
And even less know how to do that.
yeah,
So there's stages. So whatever your hustle is to raise cash, like I love it, bro.
Yeah.
Do whatever you're doing to raise the cash. Whether you're flipping, you're selling homes, great.
yeah,
Because they're both mechanisms for just that.
yeah.
But they're not mechanisms for financial freedom.
No.
Financial freedom comes from residual income that covers housing, transportation, food, and insurance.
Yeah.
So it's like if your identity is wrapped up in just being an agent and doing deals, and like you puff your chest out and go to events because you do 100 deals,
Got a little ribbon.
you you have a problem because I know a lot of dudes who are still in their 50s knocking on doors.
Yeah.
And what I would say to people, because I was usually the youngest one in mastermind groups, I'd be like, look, guys, I'm not saying this to be a jerk. If I'm still on this call in that age bracket and I'm still talking about contacts and listings,
Yeah.
I screwed up.
Yeah.
I did something wrong,
Yeah.
right? So whatever the mechanism for raising cash is, it's cool. The goal and objective is to have residual that covers housing, transportation, food, and insurance. That's the goal.
Yeah.
Because then you have financial freedom.
Yeah.
And you no longer have to worry about, like, is my family gonna, if I was to disappear off planet Earth today and I couldn't take a listing or I couldn't flip a house, the question is would my family's lifestyle change at all? Could they still go to private school? Could they still shop at Whole Foods? Could they still take a trip? And if the answer is no, you have to rethink what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right, go back.
Yeah.
So 10 years, and then what happened?
So then I realized the next evolution is to build like a team.
Okay.
Truthfully, though, I didn't have a heart for that. I wasn't really interested in it. I didn't want to manage humans. I didn't want to do that. So then I did the next thing, which is to monetize the skill. So everybody would reach out to me and they wanted to role play with me or they wanted me to coach them. So then I built a coaching company.
Okay. You built a coaching company.
Yep.
When you were crushing it for these 10 years, like how much money were you making?
Yeah. So anywhere between like the last year I was in production was 1.5 million.
Damn.
Yeah.
Is that gross?
That's gross.
Okay.
And I-
It's
and
like
I-
now.
Yeah. Net is probably like 40%,
Okay. So
45%, 450, 500
Okay.
Net,
okay.
net.
Net.
when it all shakes out.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, so you were crushing it, and then you started a coaching program.
Yeah.
And then the coaching program was teaching sales or probate or
So it was teaching people the skills that I'd acquired because all of that, 80% of that business was listing sold.
Oh, okay.
So I was just a listing machine.
You were just a listing agent.
Yeah. So I was teaching people those particular skill sets. And then what also started to happen is I would teach them the systems that we created to be able to do that in that volume.
Got
And
it.
also the mindset that's required, because
Yeah.
if you're going to do that,
Uh-huh.
in my opinion, and this isn't an egotistical thing, it's just true. I was telling my wife the other day, like if you want to me, selling 100 homes a year as an agent is like winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
Oh, it's super hard.
And it needs to be the only thing that you do.
yeah.
Like it requires everything. Like a professional athlete, it's everything that they do. Blood, sweat,
Yeah.
tears, like the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I think if you could do it once, like athletes, if you could sell 100 homes a year once, you're good. If you could
Yeah.
do it twice, you're like a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
If you could do it 10 years in a row, consistently, year
Yeah.
after year after
Yeah.
year after year, that requires a certain kind of approach, mindset, like that sort of thing. So that's what I was teaching.
Yeah. So, and I know I give realtors such a hard time, and it's because I know it's so hard.
Yeah.
So I did like the max transactions I did in a year was 50, and I was just by myself. No,
Which is awesome business, by the way, because
Which is yeah.
like in most offices, you're like the top agent.
Oh, I was a top agent.
Yeah.
So I felt great at the time.
Yeah.
So I did 50, and it was hard.
Really hard.
Super hard.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm so hard on agents. I'm like, you guys don't even know. Like, there's easier ways to make money, but they just don't know. But I do respect agents because it is a hustle. It is a grind. It is freaking, you're dealing with your customer service, sales,
Everything.
legal, a
Yeah.
therapist.
Yeah.
You got to manage dogs, a landscaper, whatever it takes.
100%.
You got to be there to figure out the problem.
What I share with people, it's like it's a crash course MBA,
Yeah.
because you have to do so many things
Mm-hmm.
all at the same time. And I think also too, agents, they do serve like a really important purpose, like in society,
Yeah.
where they, it's a really big emotional transaction. We think
yeah.
that we're thinking beings that feel when we're really feeling beings that think.
Oh, yeah.
And people are way more emotional than they imagine they are.
Mm-hmm.
And, if there wasn't a need for them, they would have disappeared when the internet came around.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason why Zillow and all these companies that are pushing into the space, that if they could get rid of us, they would.
Oh, 100%.
The reason that they can't is because it's not just tech, it's touch.
Oh, 100%.
So I think that, they serve a good purpose. But to your point, most agents, they think like salespeople and not business people.
Yes.
And with
They never get to business.
So if you can think like a business person and systematize things and think about leverage and different forms of leverage, then I think you can earn an unbelievable amount of money in comparison to what it's required to enter. Because here's what you need. You need a C on a test, $1,000, and you're not a felon yet.
Yeah.
That's the criteria.
That's it.
And wherever there's inefficiency in the market, somebody makes a tremendous amount of money. So, out of 20 million agents in the multiple listing service, this was back when I was really high in production.
There's 20 million agents?
There was at the time.
Damn.
No, I'm sorry, 20,000.
Oh, I was like,
So
holy
20,000 in the multiple listing, and this is in South Florida, so it's a huge
Yeah.
MLS. There was 100 that do more than 20 million in volume, myself included. So that means that, and this is a law in nature where the square root of the kind of sample set produces 50% of all the results. So if you have 9 tomato plants, right?
Yeah.
3 of them will do 50% of the output.
Yeah.
The other 6 will share the 50%.
Yeah.
If you have 100 agents, 10 of them will do 50% of all the business.
Yep.
The other 90 will share the other 50%. So the dope part about that is that mediocrity scales.
Yeah.
So I have a choice. I can make a decision. Do I want to be part of the mediocre many or the fantastic few? And that few, you can do something unbelievable. Like you can earn $10 million in a career just selling properties, and you're not saving lives doing brain surgery. Like, right?
So I remember I became a realtor, I believe in like 2016. And I came into the industry. I used to be a bar back. I used to be a bar runner, and I like went to college. So I was doing all 3 at the same time. And then I remember I got to my real estate office and I was like, all right, like I'm here to make money. How do I do this? And the broker was like, all right, you got a cold call and you got a door knock and you got to just hustle and try to talk to people. I was like, all right, cool. So then I'd be at the office and I'd be like looking what everyone's doing. And I'm like, no one's doing what this guy said to do.
Yeah.
Like everyone's kind of just chilling. Like that's what I noticed. Everyone's like kind of drinking coffee and then they might go on one appointment and then they come back and they chit chat and then they're on the MLS and they go home at 5.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, okay. Like I'm literally going to smoke these people because I already work hard
Yes.
at these 2 jobs, and they have such low work ethic that I'm gonna beat them.
Yes.
Like I literally remember having that thought, like, oh, this is gonna
Like
be
a certainty, right?
Yeah, I was like, dude, this is gonna be easy because they don't know what it is to work hard, because they get paid $10,000 to sell one house, and then they kind of take their foot off the gas, and then they're not here for a month, and then they'll come back in, and then they'll get a couple listings, and then they're gone. I noticed it super quick.
Yeah.
Because I've always been a hard worker, a hustler.
Sure.
So I came in, started cold calling, started crushing it, and I was like, all right, like the industry is.
This next panelist is going to teach us how to keep our money. Who here wants to do that?